Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, the Supreme Court is set to weigh in on whether law enforcement can enter a home without a search warrant based on less than probable cause there's an emergency. And folks in one eastern Kentucky city are celebrating Tree Week, a week dedicated to spreading appreciation and awareness of tree health.
Dedicated to southern and eastern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 5:30.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. The U.S. Supreme Court is set to hear oral arguments in a case that could impact what's needed for law enforcement to enter your home without a search warrant. WYMT Washington correspondent Katrin Asaf has a preview of the case.
Case v. Montana asks the question of how much evidence officers need that some sort of emergency is afoot before they can enter into somebody's house without a warrant.
That's the issue now before the Supreme Court. The Fourth Amendment says officers can't enter a private residence without a search warrant unless it's to render emergency aid. But the question is, how sure do they have to be that there's an actual emergency?
Whatever the outcome is, it's going to set a constitutional standard for police behavior throughout the entire United States.
Matthew Cavadon has been following the situation of William Trevor Case, whose ex-girlfriend called police saying she believed he had a gun and was about to commit suicide. Officers entered Case's home without a search warrant, saying they believed there was enough of an emergency to justify entry. But the question now ahead of the court is, what is enough? Probable cause, proof of a likely situation, or just reasonable suspicion, more of a hunch?
Historically, it's not been a good enough reason to enter into somebody's house.
That's where the state of Montana comes in, saying setting a higher threshold in an emergency could mean life or death.
When officers respond to these sometimes very tricky situations and have to act on less than perfect information, that they simply have to act reasonably.
Montana Solicitor General Christian Corrigan argues officers need to be able to do their job, and always proving probable cause sometimes isn't fast enough.
And if the standard is set too high, they simply won't be able to act.
But supporters of Case disagree.
How can an officer say, we need to actually enter your home to get more information?
For William Trevor Case, his welfare check ended with him being shot and charged with assault of a peace officer after police believed he was trying to harm them.
How do we prevent that encounter in the first place? The officer doesn't get to go into someone's home without probable cause.
Arguments are set for Wednesday, October 15th, with a decision expected later this year. In Washington, I'm Katrin Asaf.
Two people are facing charges after police in Laurel County say they found narcotics during a traffic stop. Police pulled over Matthew Tennant overnight on Interstate 75 after they noticed the vehicle he was driving weaving along the roadway. Police say they found approximately 504 grams of meth as well as cocaine and other drugs. Tennant and the passenger, Emily Hill, both of Somerset, were taken to the Laurel County Correctional Center. A woman is facing charges after she reportedly bit a sheriff's deputy and also broke his nose. Amy Mabes was arrested in that case. A deputy was called to a home on US 25 in Williamsburg earlier this week because someone was breaking the windows. He found Mabes in the backyard. He repeatedly tried to handcuff her, and she reportedly resisted and ran. After dropping his baton, the deputy and Mabes got into a struggle before he says she hit him in the face. One Pike County man is set to appear in court tomorrow for a pretrial conference in connection with an officer-involved shooting. Dustin Allen was arrested after police in Madison County say he reversed and aggressively accelerated in a stolen vehicle before striking an officer. The officer-involved shooting happened earlier this year at the Walmart in Berea. Allen was indicted by Madison County grand jury for criminal mischief. Police are investigating a stabbing in Woodford County. Officers say two minors got into a fight at Big Spring Park in the Versailles area last night around 6. One stabbed the other. The victim has non-life-threatening injuries. They say the two minors are cooperating with investigators. The federal government shutdown continues after the Senate failed to advance a House-passed GOP bill for the 9th time. The shutdown is now in its 15th day. Senate Majority Leader John Thune says he will attempt to advance an individual year-long appropriations bill to fund the Pentagon tomorrow, with the possibility of attaching other funding bills. The legislation would need 60 votes to advance, and Democrats have not said how they plan to vote. With the shutdown ongoing, one area being impacted is the U.S. Department of Education. The cuts are affecting the office responsible for overseeing special education. 1 out of every 6 students in Kentucky has a disability. Now parents and teachers alike are worried about how these layoffs could impact funding in Kentucky schools. One woman who's been a special ed teacher for 26 years is looking for guidance after the cuts.
It is concerning. I've not had a year where I've felt like, what's going to happen? Unless we receive more guidance from the federal government, states are going to have to reassess how they fund this program.
Lieutenant Governor Jacqueline Coleman says the feds give the Commonwealth $182 million a year in special education funding. She's encouraging parents to use their voices to keep those dollars in Kentucky. A data center proposal was shot down in Meade County yesterday, mostly due to water, air, and health concerns. Local water quality issues, noise, and light pollution can have an impact on the health of people living in the immediate area around a data center. Dr. David Hine is a toxicology expert at U of L. He has provided information to the public and decision makers on data centers in Oldham and Jefferson counties. He says the true impact is hard to estimate.
I think there just needs to be accountability and transparency into letting the public know what is going to be built and giving them sufficient time to weigh in on the benefits or the problems.
Dr. Hines says that as more data centers are built, Kentucky will likely lean into more fossil fuel generating infrastructure, which could be harmful to public health in the long run. Kentucky students are among the top performers on the ACT. Data release shows Kentucky ranks 4th among states that test 100% of their graduates. Kentucky's average composite score was 18.4. 77 students got a perfect score of 36. The average score saw a slight decrease from last year, but more students took the exam. Starting next spring, Kentucky high school juniors will start taking the SAT instead of the ACT.
Hi, good evening, everybody. What an absolutely fantastic fall day we've got across the coal fields, the eastern Kentucky mountains, everybody dealing with superb skies. Though a little cloud cover beginning to creep in from the northeast. Here's the view from the Kentucky-Tennessee border down into Whitley County along Interstate 75. Nothing going on. If you're out there tonight, those temperatures are going to be chillier than what we have been seeing of late. We're generally into the low 40s. Can we squeeze out a pocket of upper 30s? Maybe. A little fog going to fire up in some of those valleys. Watching your weekend. First alert weather day Saturday night into Sunday. We got some thunderstorms that are going to rumble across the area Saturday night into at least the first half of Sunday. It's not a true severe weather setup. A little concerned about some gusty winds, maybe some pockets of inch-plus rains. Short term, we got a cold front dropping its way on in from the north with some of those clouds. There's your weekend storm system. We'll break down the arrival time on that when I come back here in just a few minutes.
Chris, thank you. Folks in Hazard are celebrating Tree Week, a week dedicated to spreading appreciation and awareness of tree health. WYMT's Neely Green attended a workshop that gives more insight about how to protect those greens.
Folks in Perry County gathered Wednesday for a conversation about tree health.
We really wanted to open up a conversation with some of the city workers about some common pests and diseases of trees and give them some information that they could take back to their work to inform them on how to do the things they're already doing, but do them even more effectively.
A specific threat to trees in eastern Kentucky is the hemlock woodley adelgid. The insect can infest the trees and potentially kill them.
These white parts on here are actually the egg masses, and these will hatch in the spring. And so they bite into the tree and they suck the sap out, and they eventually can cause the tree to die, usually if left untreated within 4 to 10 years.
There are ways to prevent the bugs from infecting the trees, including insecticide treatments that homeowners can use to treat their greenery.
So for us to find ways to keep the trees in our community healthy, we're not just benefiting the aesthetics of the area, but we're also increasing the economic viability of the area.
By helping to protect the trees, folks are able to give back to the environment that gives to them.
Trees offer a ton of benefits to communities, both to people who live there in terms of health, well-being and mental health benefits, but also they have a ton of economic benefits. They tend to make people feel like cities are more attractive or more welcoming.
In Hazard, Neely Green, WYMT Mountain News.
For more information about how to protect your trees, just find this story on WYMT.com or the WYMT News app. Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, we hear from officials with One Kentucky Mission Group about trying to feed folks ahead of Thanksgiving.
You're watching WYMT.